So, hello and welcome. As promised, I said I'll be live here for half an hour today. Welcome. I hope you've had a fantastically nice weekend, and the sun's been out, which has been very, very nice as well. So, this is a chance for me just to answer some of the questions that you may have. We're now sort of 2 or 3 weeks into the term, which is really fantastic. So, I just wanted there were just a few things I was thinking. What I'll be able to do is answer those questions that I've heard in sort of general terms, and also there are a couple of specific questions that have come from parents through the notebook and everything, which is fantastic. So I can answer some of those, which also might be supportive for people who may not have come across it yet, but may obviously need answers to these questions coming up through. So I've got 3 or 4 things I'm going to cover. First of all, on my own, and if anyone does have any questions and they are here live, then they can absolutely just leave that in the comments, and we'll get to those in the end. So I'll just collate those as we go through, and make the most of that. So here's what it is, that things that have come up and things that I said that I would just cover and just make sure we've got some answers to. The first one is related to pads for drums or headphones, in terms of we know that drum kits are noisy, and we want to be able to maybe take that noise down and also protect our hearing for our children as well. So we'll talk through that a little bit. What to bring to the lessons. I know a lot of you, thank you very much, especially the beginners. You've now got some sticks and a pad and a tutor book and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll just give you a little update in terms of what they need to bring, and also how you can support them to do that. Performances. There are some of the schools that I teach at who've got some performances coming up later this term, some after Christmas, and I know there's a little bit of anxiety there because of the restrictions in the last sort of 18 months or so. There's not been as much performing going on, and so when it's been mentioned in the schools, you can just see there's a little bit of apprehension there. So I just want to talk a little bit about that, in terms of maybe you can just be aware of that and maybe sort of get some kind of conversation going. Taking grade exams, I just wanted to touch this just in terms of giving you an idea of how I set this up, but also the sort of the time scale in terms of when we start learning it to when we might be able to take those exams going in. And then, as I said, if there's anyone here live who's got any questions, just put them in the comments, and let me know. And yeah, I'll cover those at the end when I've got a chance to go through it and collate them as we go in. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So let us go back and first of all just start about the first one. So pads for drums or headphones. So we know this is something which actually makes a big difference to a lot of people, in terms of we want to protect our hearing. If you've got a real drum kit or an acoustic drum kit rather than an electric drum kit, it can get very noisy. So both in terms of keeping the peace in the house, but also protecting our hearing, and also just wanting just to take the edge off as well. What we don't want to do is dampen any people's enthusiasm in terms of doing it, but we do know that with that comes a little bit of extra I guess kind of the ability just to kind of give ourselves a little bit of a break from the continual banging that goes on. And I know that obviously both teaching at home from my kids and my family, and also from when I was a student and much younger, and my parents and neighbours and people having to put up with me practicing. Well, I shouldn't say put up, but when I was encouraged to practice in order to do that. So the first thing to say is there are some options. Back when I was a teenager learning, all I did was actually put a blanket over the entire drum kit. So I was literally hitting the drums through a blanket. Completely takes the sound away. You can still see the outline of where the cymbals are or what all the drums are. So that's a very easy, quick fix. In this day and age, there's some lots and lots of pads that you can actually put on top of each drum. And if you go to my website, which has got a list of gear and stuff and information for you, which is educationonfire.com/gear, I've got lots of things on there with some beginner kits and acoustic kits, electric kits, how to get going with all those things. I've also added a link to the Drum Shack, which has got pads for the cymbals and also pads for each drum, which is fantastic. So what they do is they're literally rubber pads that they're exactly the right size for the drums that you would have. You can order different sizes depending on your drum kit, and they sit on the drum and sit over the cymbal. So you're basically reducing the sound by half, if not more, but you still get a great response in terms of what you're playing. You just lose some of that volume, which is absolutely fantastic in terms of just taking the noise away, but not losing the essence of playing the drum kit. And also, of course, you can mix and match. Sometimes you might want to play the drum kit normally. It might be that there's a percentage of the time you just want to take that down, both in terms, as we said, for the hearing and also for your benefit as parents, and what's going on around your house and everything. So yeah, so that's possible. So that's in that on that particular page for you. The other thing you could do if you're just worried about hearing is you can get some noise cancelling headphones. If you just do an online search for that, you can get things which go over the ears for around £40 or so, and of course that just takes away any of that initial noise. I'm not going to recommend any in-ear earplugs and things. I suggest if you want to go down that route, you would maybe speak to a doctor, or go to somewhere that deals with that sort of thing specifically, and can give you some proper advice with that. I know as a professional musician, we can get certain earplugs and protectors and things through the Musicians Union, and they take us through and take us to a specialist place that can give us proper in-ear protection. But my first my suggestion to you would be, if you want to go down that route, get some specialist help. But if it's just a question of protecting the children's ears, then anything which sort of goes over the ears and takes away some noise has to be that a good starting point. But if it was my child in learning in this particular way and I had an acoustic kit, what I would suggest to do is to get those practice pads that go over it. I think they're around £55, £59, something like that, whereas over-ear headphones are going to be around 45, something like that as well. So you kind of can choose which way you want to go, but I think that's the best way that you can go about it. And of course, one of the things that we like to do when we're learning is actually play along to tracks as well. So that's something else that you might want to consider in terms of taking the noise down. If you've got a stereo or a sound system where you can hear the music going along, actually taking the overall volume of the drums down so that you can hear the two things together is a great thing as well. So again, those pads will really help in that particular way. So, what to bring to the lessons? So what you need to do is we need a pair of drumsticks, the practice diary, and the tutor book. Those are the three things that we need for your child to come in with each particular lesson. That's the most important thing. The practice pad, which some of you will have had if you've just started, it can just be at home. It's something for them to practice on while they're at home. And they can put that on a table. If they do have some drums, then that can go on top of a drum as well. That does that job, as we've just been talking about before. So that would be my suggestion for that. But we do need the drumsticks, we do need the practice diary, and the tutor book. I know within some schools the tutor books are still on order, so don't worry about that. You'll see in the practice diary I've written down what we've been doing and what we're building up to. The two things interlink, so they've got everything they need in terms of being practicing at the moment. And also likewise, there's the odd person I think who may not have a practice diary yet, but we've been able, all those things are on order. It's just a question for all the school ordering to go through and then come back, so that should be there within a week or so. But we've been able to continue all the learning and all the coordination and all the skills we needed to begin with to get ourselves going. So no need to bring the practice pad into school, but when you do have everything together, the drum kit, the drumsticks, the tutor book, and the practice diary. And the practice diary is important really so that we can keep a log of what we're doing. So when your child's practicing, they can remember what we've done in the lesson, and I can just write what you can do at home. And also it gives you an opportunity to be able to just write in there if you've got any questions directly linked to your child, because then we can have that personal little conversation about what's going on, or if you've got anything you'd like to ask, rather than this kind of public forum here. And of course, you will have my school emails, depending on what school. You'll have all those details. You can always send me an email there. So the next thing, excuse me, the next thing are performances. Now, this has come up because, of course, we want to get back in, want to give opportunity performances, and it's a great way of sharing what we've been doing in lessons and what you've been up to going on. However, with that comes a certain amount of insecurity. Often people get confused, get concerned about what they don't know. And of course, performances is one of the things it doesn't know. Children get used to coming to lessons once they've kind of got having used to coming to a lesson, and they get used to a teacher. They're very comfortable. We learn new things, and we go through that whole process. the kind of taking you out of that comfort zone to do a performance is something which kind of, for some people, just kind of brings a little bit of anxiety. So I just want you to be aware that there are some performances which come up. Some schools, it's something you have to do as part of learning an instrument. Other schools, it's a little bit more optional. It's a really fantastic thing to do, and once you've done it, like with all these things, when you've got the experience of doing it once, it's something you really feed into and something you really, really enjoy. But you can understand that fear factor to begin with. And so I would just start to have that conversation in terms of, oh, I hear there might be a performance coming up. Tell me maybe what it is that you're going to be playing, or how do you think it's going to go in terms of, what is it that you want to be able to show what we've been doing. That's kind of the objective, really. And I've explained to all of the pupils that actually it's about showing what you can do already. It's not about just seeing where you are in the piece that you're learning now. It's about showing something which you've already comfortable, that you've learned already. You've got the muscle memory. Even when you're nervous, it should go as well as it possibly can be. It's about that kind of, we've done all the preparation we can. We don't know how the final performance will go, but it doesn't really matter. And I also like to just turn the focus a little bit, rather than being about I'm concerned about it going wrong. Use it as an opportunity to just, as a parent, just say, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've been doing. Not, I want to see your brilliant best performance ever, because as a professional musician, I can tell you over the course of the years, there are some shows which are brilliant, there are some shows which are terrible, and as a professional, we kind of like to have that kind of high level of an average, as it were. When you're a child and you're just doing this for the first time, you don't know what that average is, you don't know what's possible, you don't know how well these things are going to go, and also what the expectation is. So just kind of playing it down to the point of just being able to, we're just sharing what it is that you've been doing. They're all going to be relatively informal, and it's just an opportunity for us to show you what's been learnt, and a chance to kind of get back onto that sort of way of being in terms of having those performing opportunities. And as I said, it's a fantastic gift. And then being able to do not just on your own, but with ensembles and how all those things start to develop, it's a brilliant, brilliant thing. But you can understand that fear factor. So just be aware of that. And I would just suggest just to have those sort of conversations as you go through in the next coming weeks, just to kind of open that door and explain it's understandable to be nervous, not to worry about it too much, but to accept it. Know that it's going to be maybe a few butterflies in the stomach, but also have that sense of, we're going to be performing something we've done many times before. It's just going to be in public for this time, but also we're doing it for the benefit and for the enjoyment of you as a parent being able to come and watch, or for the people that are able to come and be part of the audience. So it's just a little bit of a framework. I'm going to be doing some of those sorts of conversations during the lesson, but also to maybe have it at home as well, just in terms of, it's not about not making a mistake on a performance, it's about sharing that experience, showing you what is possible, and hopefully that will start to kind of open the door. If you think you'd like some sort of more sort of specialist understanding of this, then do let me know, because I'm happy to do a workshop and do some support for things in that way as well. So maybe drop me an email for that, or leave something in the comments, and we can talk about that a little bit more. So, taking grade exams. So this was much more about not having to take grades, or why you take them, but about, if you are going to take them, what the kind of the process is in terms of the longevity, in terms of how from when we decide to do it, when's the exam going to be. I like to think of taking the exams much the same as I just spoke about the performances. We're going to do something that you're already prepared for, something you're confident in, and something you're going to go and show an examiner how well you've been learning and what you've managed to achieve. Again, we don't know how it will go on the day. There are many factors, but we're going to be prepared and give ourselves the best opportunity to do it. It's a celebration of what it is that we've been learning, and a chance, therefore, to be examined in it, get a certificate, and to sort of enjoy that kind of way of actually just showing what it is that we've achieved. So the way I like to do it is, I like to learn the pieces and all the things that are required for each exam. And generally speaking, you have to enter someone for the exam earlier in the term. So, for example, we're here in September, so they would be entered September, October time, and the exams would then be end of November, beginning of December, if that makes sense. And then in the spring, if you were ready to take them in the spring, you'd enter them sort of January, early February, and then they'd be probably March, April, depending on when Easter is. And the way I like to do it is the fact that when we get to the beginning of any term, when that exam might be, as we start that new term, we think, are we happy? Are we prepared? Can you play all the pieces? Can you play all the extra things that we need to do for the exam? Pretty much to where you think all we're going to be doing in these next few weeks is just improving it a little bit, getting that confidence, getting that muscle memory going, and being as ready as we possibly can. So it often takes up to a year, and in terms of learning maybe the three pieces you need, the exercises, the oral tests and various things that go around with it. So if you started learning some new pieces now, it may well be that in the summer, if your child is practicing on a regular basis and they've got everything going for them, then it's going to be that sort of third term, which is probably going to be the earliest that we're going to be doing it. I don't like to do exams where we're learning all the technique and everything ready just for the next exam. I like to have a sense of that we're already at this level, whatever it is, whether it's grade 1 or whether it's grade 8, that we're already working, we have the ability of being at that level. All we're doing once we start the exam process learning is learning the pieces and the exercises we need for that particular exam. We're not learning how to be someone of that ability. We've already done that work and we've built on the things we've done so far. We're actually just learning those things. So therefore, it would make sense that over the course of a 10 or 12-week term, we're going to be able to learn, a couple of pieces. The next term, we're going to make sure we've got the third piece and those exercises, so that by the time we get to the end of the second term, we're thinking, yeah, we've got all that together. And then that third term, we're ready to enter, do some fine tuning and actually take the exam. As I said, it does depend on how much practice you have around the lessons, because it's that regular practice between each lesson which builds that confidence, builds that understanding, and enables that to move forward. So there's a certain amount of leeway either way there, depending on how much time and how much effort any child can put in order to get that together. So the ball is really kind of in your court in terms of how supportive you can be to do that. It doesn't have to be lots and lots of practice, but regular with a focus of this is what we're trying to do and what we're trying to improve each week. So hopefully that gives you some idea of how long that would be in terms of starting an exam process to actually then physically taking the exam after that. So I hope that all makes sense. I hope that answers some of the questions that we've had. So I'm happy just to answer any other questions if there's anyone here live, which I'm not sure, might be one or two people here live. If anything comes up that you weren't sure about or you want to ask me, and you're watching this on the replay, then well, thank you very much for being here and watching. You can just either write something general in the comments here, and I'll keep an eye on those and get back to you from that. Or, as we said, if it's a personal thing, write it in the notebook or send me an email via the school email, and that will get to me and bring me everything that we need. So I hope all that's supportive. I hope that the videos which are on the playlist will be supportive as well, in terms of whether you want to buy a drum kit, whether you want the beginner information, which I know so many of you have done in terms of being a new student going through, and all those other things. If there's anything else you want me to cover, do just let me know, and we'll add to that library. I don't want there to be loads of things, because I know we're all busy as parents. We don't want to have more and more things to do. So I want this sort of channel to be supportive and helpful, but at the same time, like I say, don't want to take up loads of your time above and beyond everything that you can do. So I'll just give it another minute or so just to see if there's anything else before I wrap up. One thing I would just say, which would be really, really helpful, is if you can actually be aware of when the drum lessons are on any given day, and just make sure that you're able to bring, like I said, the drumsticks, the tutor book, and the practice diary to each lesson, or at least have it in school for the right days. One, in terms of it's just a great way of keeping that log, but also in terms of in this sort of current sort of COVID situation, the less we can share in terms of drumsticks. Of course, everything is sanitized between each pupil and all of those kind of things. But the least things we have to share, the least things we have to sort of be part of that, then the better. So, and it's much better if every child can come with all of their own things and take all their things away, and then therefore we don't need to share anything any more than we need to. So I can't see anything coming through on the comments, so I hope this has been helpful. Thanks so much for joining me, and there'll be another one of these after half term, towards the end of the term, and hopefully that'll be there with a few more questions of anything that's come up and a chance for you to ask me anything again as well. Thanks so much for watching.